is that I don't want to be involved in the stuff where it's negative stuff.
Hi, how do you do?
I need to talk to him.
Oh, okay, sorry.
People were starting to say it's an East Coast, West Coast rivalry because it was people that's trying to make money. It was true people trying to make careers, it was people trying to get famous.
The stage was set years ago, a rivalry that was less about music and more about power, control, and dominance. The East Coast-West Coast feud wasn't just a headline, it was a battle for the soul of hip-hop, splashed across every magazine cover, whispered about in every corner of the industry. At its core were two larger-than-life figures. Suge Knight, the bulldozing force behind DRR, and Sean Diddy Combs, the polished mastermind of bad boy entertainment. Two men who didn't just sit atop their respective coasts, but symbolized everything their region stood for. Suge was raw, intimidating, a street-certified kingpin who built his empire with muscle and fear. Diddy? He was the slick, suit-clad mogul who turned boardroom deals into a new kind of swag. Together, they were the architects of a war that would forever change the face of music. And now, decades later, that war has found its way into a courtroom.
You know, and they're more important to the police on the streets than in here because they let them know what's going on.
The drama unfolding in court is nothing short of explosive. Suge Knight, a man who has spent much of his life cloaked in controversy, has emerged as the star witness in a trial that could shatter the legacy of his old nemesis Diddy. Their rivalry, once played out through diss tracks and thinly veiled threats, has taken on a new dimension. Suge isn't just testifying against Diddy, he's detonating bombshell allegations that threaten to rewrite the story of one of hip-hop's darkest chapters. With the eyes of the world watching, Suge has painted a damning picture. One where Diddy isn't just a businessman, but an orchestrator of chaos, pulling strings from behind the scenes with ruthless precision. Let's not sugarcoat it. This isn't your typical courtroom squabble. Suge's testimony has been a whirlwind of accusations, each one more incendiary than the last. He's claimed in no uncertain terms that Diddy was involved in plotting one of the most infamous incidents in music history. According to Suge, Diddy wasn't just a bystander to the violence that plagued the era. He was a key player, allegedly putting plans into motion that would take out his rivals in the most dramatic fashion possible. Suge has described meetings, whispered conversations, and veiled threats, painting a picture of a man so consumed by ambition that no line seemed too far to cross.
There's no punishment. If they protected by the road, the judge.
The allegations are as detailed as they are shocking. Suge claims that Diddy didn't just harbor resentment against his West Coast counterparts, he actively sought to eliminate them. Suge has recounted alleged meetings where Diddy's supposed intentions were laid bare, painting him as a man willing to do whatever it took to maintain his grip on the industry. And while Diddy's legal team has fiercely denied these claims, the weight of Suge's testimony has added a new layer of tension to an already volatile trial. But Suge isn't just pointing fingers. He's bringing receipts, or so he claims. He's described alleged incidents with chilling specificity, recounting moments that, if true, would reveal a level of premeditation that's hard to fathom. And while the courtroom has been a spectacle of objections, rebuttals, and dramatic pauses, narrative remains that Diddy's rise to power wasn't as clean as the glossy images in magazines would have you believe.
You know, when it comes to rewriting history, it's some trying to rewrite history.
What makes this courtroom drama even more compelling is the history between these two men. Suge and Diddy weren't just rivals. They were two sides of a coin, each representing a vision of what hip-hop could be. Their feud wasn't just about music, it was about identity, about whose culture would dominate, whose rules would define the game. And while their conflict was often framed as an East Coast versus West Coast battle, it was, at its heart, deeply personal. Suge has long accused Diddy of being a puppet master, a man who smiled for the cameras while pulling off moves that would make even the most hardened hustlers flinch. Now he's taking those accusations to a courtroom, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
I'm not the guy who's here for Puffy's downfall, but I am the guy who supports the victims who got victimized.
Suge's testimony has also brought into focus the darker side of the music industry, a world where alliances are fragile and power plays are the norm. He's described an environment where trust was a currency, often in short supply, and where the line between business and betrayal was razor thin. In Suge's telling, Diddy wasn't just a competitor, he was a man who would stop at nothing to protect his empire, even if it meant crossing moral and legal boundary. And yet, for all the drama playing out in court, there's an undeniable sense that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Suge's allegations, as shocking as they are, hint at a deeper, more tangled web of secrets and lies. The courtroom has become a stage not just for legal arguments, but for a larger battle over truth, reputation, and legacy. And while Suge's words have cast a shadow over Diddy, the real question is how far this shadow stretches and what it might be hiding.
Got it. So you're saying Diddy's an FBI informant, and he's been one for many years.
How would they say? Nothing ever happens, but it's still, like I said, anything.
For Diddy, the stakes couldn't be higher. His reputation, his legacy, his very freedom, everything hangs in the balance. Suge's testimony has forced the world to re-examine the polished image Diddy has cultivated over decades, raising uncomfortable questions about what lies beneath the surface. And while Diddy's legal team has been quick to dismiss Suge's claims as baseless, the weight of the allegations has already left a mark. This isn't just a trial, it's a reckoning. One that threatens to pull back the curtain on an era of hip-hop that has long been shrouded in myth and mystery. What makes this all the more compelling is the sense that Suge and Diddy's courtroom showdown is more than just a clash of personalities. It's a battle for control of the narrative. For years, the story of the East Coast-West Coast feud has been told from countless perspectives, each one adding a new layer of complexity to an already convoluted tale. But now, with Suge taking the stand, the narrative is being rewritten in real time. And while Diddy has fought to maintain his image as a mogul, a visionary, and a cultural icon, Suge's testimony has cast him in a very different light.
VD named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac's.
The courtroom has become a battleground, a place where decades of tension, rivalry, and unspoken truths are finally coming to a head. Suge's words have electrified the room, turning what might have been just another trial into a spectacle that has captivated the world. But as the drama unfolds, one thing is clear: this is more than just a legal battle. It's a moment that could reshape how we understand one of the most infamous periods in music history and the men who shaped it. The tension in the courtroom is palpable, every word, every gesture charged with meaning, and while Suge's allegations have dominated the headlines, the trial is far from over. Questions remain, not just about what happened, but about why and who else might have been involved. As the case continues to unfold, it's clear that the story is far from finished, and with each new revelation, the stakes only seem to grow higher, the twists more shocking, the truth more.
3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
And just when you thought this trial couldn't get any murkier, the motivations behind it all start to surface. Messy, personal, and dripping with the kind of desperation that makes you wonder how far someone is willing to go to protect their empire. The courtroom, already thick with tension, now feels like a pressure cooker about to blow. What's becoming painfully clear is that this isn't just about what happened, it's about why it happened. And when you dig into the layers of ambition, vendettas, and cold, calculated moves, the picture that emerges is downright chilling. Let's talk about the money first, because, let's be real, this entire feud was always about more than just bragging rights. The stakes were astronomical. Back in the 90s, hip-hop wasn't just a genre, it was a gold rush. Albums weren't just selling, they were flying off shelves. Merchandise, endorsements, concert tours. This was an industry minting millionaires overnight. And at the top of that mountain was Diddy, the man whose empire seemed untouchable. But success breeds enemies, and enemies breed paranoia. By the time the East Coast-West Coast rivalry hit its boiling point, the fight for dominance wasn't just metaphorical anymore, it was literal. Every diss track, every scuffle, every whispered rumor about who was running the game carried with it a price tag. And for someone like Diddy, losing wasn't an option. Not then, not ever.
Yes. He hated every bit of it. I remember one time, he was like, who did you grow up listening to? I'm like, Tupac. I ain't mentioned Biggie. That nigga ain't even talk to me for like 4 days after that. Everything with Pac, like, you couldn't say Pac was anything better than Biggie.
Suge Knight's testimony has already hinted at a darker side to Diddy's relentless ambition. But the courtroom whispers go even further. Legal teams, journalists, even insiders from the music industry are all buzzing about the lengths Diddy allegedly went to in order to secure his position. We're talking about a man who didn't just want to win, he wanted to obliterate the competition. And the competition, of course, was Suge Knight and his West Coast juggernaut. Suge wasn't just a rival, he was a threat. A looming, unrelenting force that couldn't be ignored. So if the allegations are true, Diddy decided to do what moguls do best. He made a calculated move to eliminate that threat entirely. But it wasn't just about business. The personal animosity between these two titans was an open secret. Suge had spent years mocking Diddy, painting him as soft, as someone who could only play the game from the safety of a penthouse while others did the dirty work. And Diddy, he hated Suge's audacity, his swagger, his ability to command respect through sheer intimidation. It was a clash of egos as much as it was a clash of empires. And when Shakur entered the equation, it was like throwing gasoline on an already raging fire. Shakur wasn't just an artist under Suge's label, he was a symbol of everything Diddy couldn't control. His charisma, his raw talent, his unfiltered disdain for the East Coast scene, it all made him a target. And if Suge's testimony is to be believed, Diddy wasn't content to just watch from the sidelines.
Diddy hated Pac. Facts. hated his guts. Hated him.
The courtroom has also unearthed a startling revelation: the alleged conversations that took place behind closed doors, where plans were supposedly hatched and decisions made. Witnesses have described a level of coordination that feels more like a corporate strategy meeting than anything else. And while none of this has been proven, the sheer weight of these accusations is impossible to ignore. Diddy's camp has of course called it all nonsense, a desperate attempt by Suge to deflect blame and settle old scores. But the timing, the details, the sheer audacity of the claims, they've left a mark, whether or not they're true. And then there's the disappearance of a key witness, a twist that feels ripped straight out of a crime thriller. This witness, referred to only as Victim 3, was expected to provide testimony that could have blown the case wide open. But now, gone, vanished. Prosecutors have admitted they can't reach her, and even her attorney is apparently unreachable. The courtroom speculation has been relentless. Did she back out because of fear, pressure, or was she never planning on testifying in the first place? Whatever the reason, her absence has cast a shadow over the proceedings, leaving prosecutors scrambling to adjust their strategy. And for Diddy's legal team, it's a lifeline, a chance to poke holes in the prosecution's case and argue that the entire trial is built on shaky ground.
Today, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
But here's the thing, this isn't the first time a witness has gone off the radar in a case tied to high-profile figures. It's almost a pattern, an eerie coincidence that feels less like chance and more like a piece of a bigger puzzle. Lawyers and insiders have whispered about the pressure that comes with testifying against someone with Diddy's influence. This isn't a small-town courtroom drama. This is a case drenched in power, where every move feels like it's being watched, analyzed, and countered. And when you're up against that kind of machine, the stakes aren't just legal, they're personal. What kind of person could stand up under that kind of weight? Maybe Victim 3 couldn't. Or maybe something or someone made sure she wouldn't. Then there's the timeline, which has its own set of questions. Victim 3 had reportedly been cooperative in the early stages of the investigation, even signaling her willingness to testify under her real name, a rare and bold move in a case this charged. But just weeks before the trial, her communication with prosecutors slowed to a crawl before stopping completely. Even her attorney, once a vocal advocate for her claims, has gone silent. What happened during that window of time? Did she have second thoughts? Did someone get to her? The prosecution hasn't said much, but their frustration is palpable. They've described her absence as a significant obstacle, but behind closed doors, you can bet they're asking the same questions the rest of us are.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
And if that doesn't make you wonder about the bigger picture, consider this. Victim 3 wasn't just another witness. She was supposed to provide critical testimony that tied everything together, a first-hand account that would have added weight to the prosecution's claims. Without her, the narrative feels incomplete, like a book with missing chapters. And while the prosecution can still move forward, the absence of her voice leaves a void that Diddy's legal team is exploiting at every turn. They've already argued that her disappearance undermines the credibility of the case, calling it a glaring hole in an already flimsy argument. It's a bold claim, but one that's resonating with certain members of the public who are questioning whether this trial is as airtight as prosecutors want us to believe. But let's not overlook the broader implications here. This isn't just about one missing witness, it's about what her testimony represented. According to leaks, she was prepared to share explosive details about the alleged culture surrounding Diddy's empire, details that would have painted a damning portrait of how business was conducted. Without her, those allegations hang in the air, unconfirmed but impossible to ignore. And for a trial that's already teetering on the edge of chaos, her absence is a blow that could swing the momentum in Diddy's favor.
This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
Still, the prosecution isn't backing down. They've argued that even without victim 3, there's enough evidence to move forward. They've pointed to the other witnesses, the documents, the testimonies that all suggest a pattern of behavior that can't be dismissed as coincidence. And while Diddy's team has been quick to dismiss it all as a smear campaign, the tension in the courtroom suggests otherwise. Every new piece of evidence, every whispered accusation, every dramatic revelation adds another layer to a story that's already bursting at the seams. What's perhaps most unsettling is how unresolved it all feels. The East Coast-West Coast feud may seem like a relic of the past, but its echoes are everywhere in this trial. The grudges, the rivalries, the unspoken rules of an industry built on power plays. They haven't gone away, they've just evolved, taking on new forms, new players, new stakes. And as this trial unfolds, it's clear that the questions it raises are bigger than just one man's guilt or innocence. What happens when ambition crosses the line, when personal vendettas become public scandals, and when the truth is so tangled in rumors and half-truths that it's almost impossible to separate fact from fiction.
A US judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male workers across state lines to take part in recorded performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
This trial isn't just a reckoning for Diddy, it's a reckoning for an entire era of hip-hop. The alliances, the betrayals, the behind-the-scenes deals that shape the music we all grew up on, it's all being dragged into the light. And as the courtroom drama continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the story isn't over, not by a long shot. So, what do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for Diddy? Or just another twist in a saga that refuses to be put to rest? Let us know your thoughts down below, and trust us, you're going to want to stick around for what's coming next. This story is far from finished.